You look into the eyes of someone you thought you knew and all you see is a stranger. Sometimes the answers don't come quickly. They stretch out, filling the quiet, creeping into the silence, until it consumes everything. Sometimes you need to break down in order to find your way back to who you are. It's good to have you here. If it's your first time, don't forget to subscribe and like this video. It really motivates me. I'd love to know where you're watching from, so feel free to comment the city and country you're in. Now let's dive into it. You don't notice the exact moment your world begins to unravel. It's not a sudden break, it's a slow pull like a loose thread slipping through your fingers. 1 minute, everything feels secure and the next it doesn't. For me, it all started on a Friday night. Delilah told me she was going out with her college friends, just a simple girls' night, and kissed me on her way out, telling me not to wait up. But of course I did. I always did. Midnight passed, then 1 a.m. came and went. I kept checking the clock, trying to stay calm. By 2, my phone felt like it was glued to my hand. I told myself I wasn't worried, but I was lying. Something felt wrong. At 2:30 a.m., the front door creaked open, and I was already standing in the hallway, arms crossed, trying to keep my expression neutral. When I saw her, Delilah looked like a mess. Her hair was wild, mascara smeared across her cheeks, one of her heels dangling from her hand, and her dress strap slipping off her shoulder. Her eyes avoided mine, distant and glazed. "Are you okay?" I asked quietly, my voice barely above a whisper. She nodded quickly, too quickly. "Just tired," she mumbled. "Can we talk tomorrow?" 100 questions surged in my mind. Where had she been? Who was she with? But I held them back. I helped her upstairs, trying to keep it together. When I steadied her, I caught a strange scent, cologne I didn't recognize. Something inside me shifted, but I stayed quiet for the moment. I undressed her, tucked her in, and watched as she murmured something unintelligible in her sleep. She said it didn't mean anything. I froze. "What did you say?" I asked. But she was already out cold, lost to sleep. I stood there, staring at her, this woman I thought I knew, wondering when she had become a stranger. Morning came, the sunlight spilling through the kitchen window. I hadn't slept, my coffee gone cold, untouched. The words from the night before echoed in my head. It didn't mean anything. But what didn't mean anything? A moment of weakness? A betrayal? The weight of it gnawed at me. At 8:13 a.m., I heard her coming down the stairs. Delilah appeared, looking worse for wear, bloodshot eyes, hair a mess, one hand pressed to her head. She seemed uncertain, as if bracing herself for something. "Hey," she said softly. I didn't speak, just pointed to the table. Her shoes sat there, scuffed and dirty. The necklace she always wore was broken, one of its beads split clean in two. I found it crushed in her purse like it had been stepped on. She followed my gaze, her face draining of color, then flushing back. "Lukey, I can explain," she began, her voice faltering. "I know how this looks. Do you remember what I said last night?" I cut her off, my tone icy but calm. "What about the dress?" I asked. She hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe it ripped when I fell or someone grabbed me in the crowd. It was packed. You know how it gets when people drink too much." She kept talking, her words tumbling out, each one more frantic than the last. But her eyes never met mine. Her hands trembled. She was giving me a version of the night, but I couldn't be sure it was the truth. I didn't push further, not yet. Part of me still wanted to believe her, to convince myself that I was overthinking it. But deep down, I knew this was only the beginning. The following days blurred together. Delilah acted like everything was fine, like nothing had happened, but I hadn't forgotten. Her excuses felt flimsy. The broken necklace, the torn dress strap, the vagueness of her words, they all added up. But I said nothing. I waited. Then Thursday came. I got home earlier than expected, my last meeting canceled. Delilah had mentioned running errands and I thought maybe we could spend some time together. Grab a bite, just relax. But when I pulled into the driveway, her car was already there. The house was silent when I unlocked the door. And then I heard her voice, light, carefree, full of laughter. It was coming from upstairs. I moved slowly, quietly toward the stairs. When I reached the top, I froze. Delilah was in our bedroom. The door was slightly ajar. "Oh my God, Arya, it was insane," she was saying, laughing as if everything was just fine. "I didn't mean for it to go that way, honestly, but a few drinks in and it just happened." Her voice was so carefree, so casual, like she was reading from a script. She wasn't even aware of the weight of what she was saying. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," she continued. "It was supposed to be a one-time thing, just something I needed. Honestly, I've been feeling nothing for a while now. Luke's great, he really is, but it's like I'm invisible to him. Anthony sees me, really sees me. Her voice was dreamy, soft, as if the memory was pulling her in. I already told him I'm coming back tomorrow. Same hotel, same room, same time. And just like that, the truth was out. Anthony. I could barely hold myself together when I overheard her voice light and casual, like she was booking a weekend getaway or planning a concert she'd been looking forward to. There wasn't a single trace of regret in her tone, no second thoughts. She was certain about her choice, and that certainty hit me like a punch in the gut. I gripped the railing so tight, my hands ached as my heart raced. Each word she spoke felt like a stab to the chest, and I could barely keep my balance. I should have confronted her, barged in right then, forced her to face the truth. But I didn't. I walked away instead, every step heavier than the last. It wasn't an accident she was regretful about. No, this was a choice, and she was already living with it, with no remorse, glowing with satisfaction. And that knowledge, that painful clarity, crushed me. It was worse than any argument we could have had. That night, after she went to bed, I did something I never thought I would. I grabbed her phone. She hadn't even changed the passcode, maybe thinking I wouldn't have the nerve to look. The first thing I saw was a message thread, the title, Anthony. My stomach dropped. There were dozens of texts, not graphic but enough to show the truth. She'd been thinking about him, counting the hours to their next meeting. I had to know more. I searched Anthony's name, found his profile, and everything clicked into place. He had a wife, kids, a perfect life by all appearances, and yet here he was, betraying everything for a woman who had done the same. The next evening she got dressed like she was preparing for something sacred, that red blouse she hadn't worn in over a year, clinging to her like it was meant for the spotlight. She was walking out the door like she had no care in the world, claiming it was just a girl's night. I didn't buy it. I followed her, keeping a distance, watching as she drove to the city. She parked at a bar, and within minutes, a sleek car pulled up. Out stepped Anthony, looking perfect in every way, and then she appeared like she was walking into a scene from a movie. Without hesitation, they kissed right in front of everyone. She smiled at him the way someone smiles when they think they've pulled off the perfect crime. I took pictures, caught them in the act, capturing the moments when she wrapped her arms around him and let herself go. I stayed in my car watching, feeling like a ghost. I wanted to storm in there, drag him out, make her explain herself in front of everyone, but I didn't. I stayed calm, detached. What would it even accomplish? She had already chosen him, and I was done fighting for someone who had already let go. The next morning I had the locks changed. When she came home, frantic and knocking, I opened the door just enough to let her see I had no intention of letting her in. She tried to lie, but I had the proof, the evidence of everything she'd been hiding. Her face crumbled when she saw the photos, and I told her it was over. I didn't want her to say anything. I wanted her to leave, and she did. That night I filed for divorce. The papers went through quickly, no children, no assets to divide, just a painful end. A couple of days later, I sent the pictures to Anthony's wife, Ellie. She responded almost immediately, thanking me for telling her. The fallout was fast. Ellie kicked Anthony out, filed for divorce, and Delilah tried reaching out, sending messages full of excuses. I didn't answer. There was nothing left to say. 6 months later, the divorce was finalized, and Delilah had moved in with her sister. Word was she tried to reconnect with Anthony, but he shut her out. I didn't care why. I just knew I was free. The silence in the house was deafening at first, but it eventually became a peaceful kind of quiet. I rediscovered who I was, found my strength again. I didn't need to replace her. I just needed to remember myself, and in the end that was everything.